I wonder if you subscribe to the theory that you got to be tough on people to motivate them and showing mercy and making it too easy or just allowing people to give up too quickly. That means they're never going to do anything. Have you ever had a coach that was kind of that sort of motivator? Here's the problem. While in some situations, maybe a bit of toughness in coaching is not a bad idea. In most situations, it's not a good idea. And especially when we are dealing with the thoughts in our brains that are talking to us all day long. No mercy, tough, criticize. That's a big nope. So let's talk about why this self-criticism backfires and how to actually do something totally different. Welcome to Mind Your Midlife, your go-to resource for confidence and success, one thought at a time. Unlike most advice out there, we believe that simply telling you to believe in yourself or change your habits isn't enough to wake up excited about life or feel truly confident in your body. Each week, you'll gain actionable strategies and, oh my goodness, powerful insights to stop feeling stuck and start loving your midlife. This is the Mind Your Midlife podcast. So let's see if you identify with a piece of my story. I knew for a long time that I tended to be very critical of myself and kind of a worrier, thinking of all the worst case scenarios and thinking of what I should have said in the conversation, or I can't believe I did that silly thing. And I never really paid that much attention to it. I just said, that's my personality. I know where it comes from. I know who I'm related to. That's my personality. And then one day, you may have heard me tell this story. I was standing in my kitchen, and I don't think I was cooking or anything. I was just doing whatever I was doing. And my husband was there as well. And I was telling him about the online business that I was doing. And I, as I recall, thought I was just having a conversation. We could have been, emptying the dishwasher or getting snack out. Who knows? We're just having conversation is what I thought. And at one point, he paused and he said to me, "Why don't you just stop doing that business?" And I said, "What? Where did you get that from?" And he said, "Well, all you do is complain about it. So if you're not happy, then don't do it. Do something else." And the cartoon version of me's head exploded. I had no idea that what I was doing there in the kitchen, and in his perspective, a lot more than that, I guess, was complaining about how hard it was and the difficulties and the worries and the concerns. I thought I was just making conversation. And the fact that he heard that in such a different way really made me pause. And I tell this story pretty regularly because it was the turning point that made me go, oh, maybe the stuff I'm thinking and the stuff I'm saying does matter, even when I'm talking to myself. And that absolutely is the first time I paid any attention to mindset, personal development, anything, which is now something that I focus on. Crazy, huh? So what I realized is that the words I was using, and they were coming out of me in that particular situation, but they were in my head all the time. The words I was using were focusing on what had gone wrong, what I should do differently, what I wasn't doing, but I should be doing. I was trying to maybe toughen myself up. I was trying to not get my hopes up, which is a saying that I can't stand. I maybe was telling myself I will not get anything done if I'm just sitting around enjoying myself all day. This should be hard and difficult, hard work, focus, tough. We don't actually have to speak to ourselves that way. And in fact, I will argue it's detrimental. So, Dr. Kristen Neff is someone who's studied this extensively, has written about this extensively, and she says with self-criticism, we are both the attacker and the attacked. It's like slapping ourselves when we fall down, thinking that will help us stand up faster. That's her quote. So imagine you trip over something out on your sidewalk and then you smack yourself in the head and say, get up. Obviously, that's not going to help. So self-criticism maybe isn't the big motivator that we thought it was. It is a false belief to say, if I'm not hard on myself, then I will insert thing you don't want. Get lazy, not get it done, lay on the couch all day, not work hard enough. If you are saying any form of that statement to yourself, if I'm not hard on myself, if I don't catch all these things, then I'll never do it, get lazy. That's not true. It is a false belief. There's no way it's true, first of all, because when we say these always and never kind of statements, they're never always true. Can I use that? But what we found psychologically is that self-criticism triggers, and you've heard me say this before, our fight or flight response. And that response is a nervous system response. We are triggering our nervous system to go into the sympathetic nervous system. And it's actually not just fight or flight, it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Our bodies are either revving up with adrenaline to fight, they are revving up with adrenaline to run, flight, they are just frozen in place, that's freeze, or they are just we're making ourselves so small and tiny, that's fawn. We're letting everyone else be in charge. And when that happens, it shuts down any learning we could do. It shuts our brains down from taking in new information. It 100% shuts our brains down from problem solving, from solving any issue that you might be in the middle of and thinking creatively. And it shuts down our motivation. And if that's not enough for you, it also shuts down our digestive system. That's why you may have heard the term rest and digest. But anyway, we're talking about self-criticism and self-talk today. So let me give you a visual example to remember. One of my mentors always used the saying, don't shoot holes in your own boat. And I love this saying. And so let's make a picture out of it. So let's say that your life is a boat. Let's call it a houseboat, shall we? You have this houseboat and it's your first houseboat and you've done a bit of work on it. It's not perfect. You wish it was a little more sleek. You wish it was a little bit bigger. You wish it looked more successful. You see what I'm doing? You wish it could go a bit faster or had already gone a bit faster. But it's your boat and you're proud of this boat overall, in general. It looks good. It floats. You're in there. It's your boat. And when you start criticizing this boat, it's the equivalent of taking out a cannon and shooting a cannonball into the side of your boat. You're telling yourself that you look dumpy and you look old. Cannonball into the side of your boat. You're telling yourself that you should be really a lot farther along in your career than you are now. Cannonball into the side of your boat. You're telling yourself that you are I don't know, uncoordinated and you can't move around well because you're getting old and everything hurts. Cannonball into the side of your boat. You're looking at your body and you're going, ugh, ugh, and telling yourself it's not attractive or whatever your critique of the day is. Cannonball into your boat. How do you think that boat's doing on the water? I'm pretty sure there's not much of that boat left at this point. It's going to sink. There's no benefit to shooting holes in your own boat. Zero. So when you catch yourself being mean to yourself, and it often sounds like should have this, or ugh, looking at something about your life and thinking, I thought I was better than this. This is terrible. This is not appealing. It's not attractive. Something like that. That is shooting a hole in your own boat. That's what we mean by negative self-talk or self-criticism. Let's flip it the other way. Is there another way that you could talk to yourself? Now, I don't want you to spiral and say, I can't believe I talk to myself like this. Oh my goodness. Our brains are wired to keep us safe. And so when you get yourself into any situation that has just a little bit of uncertainty to it, or you feel a little bit of nervousness or a little bit of embarrassment, your brain may emphasize that to you so that you pull back and get safe out of that situation. Now, probably the situation that gave you a little bit of nervousness or a little bit of embarrassment or a little bit of concern was totally safe and maybe even where you wanted to be. But our brains don't always know that. So it's not your fault. You've not done something wrong if you've got all this negative self-talk going on. And let's figure out what we can do instead. So I want you to focus on self-compassion. And while maybe it wouldn't make sense to coach a sports team by just telling them all day to relax and enjoy how great they are, the good coaches use a lot of compassion. And we need to do that with ourselves as well. And hear me when I say this. This is not a personality trait. It's not true that some people can be kind to themselves and compassionate toward themselves, and some people just aren't that way. Aren't that way needs air quotes. That's not true. This is a skill. You can learn to be more compassionate, more kind toward yourself. And it has nothing to do with, again, air quotes, letting yourself off the hook. Remember the quote from Dr. Kristen Neff. Remember the shooting holes in your own boat. It is not about going easy on myself and thus I'm not going to hit my goal. It's not about that at all. Have you ever wished you could somehow be part of these podcast interviews and ask the questions you wanted to ask? Well, now you can when you join Midlife Pivot on Patreon. Members help me shape what I ask in the episodes, get bonus content, and of course, always know what's coming next. Join for free at patreon.com/mindyourmidlife. And maybe this will help as well. Another quote from Dr. Neff. Self-criticism asks, what's wrong with you? Self-compassion asks, what's happened to you? So it's okay when we're trying to be compassionate and kind to ourselves. It's okay to think about something difficult that we've gone through. I'm going through difficult things right now. We're all going through difficult things. I'm not saying we forget that and we never feel it. I would never say that. We want to feel all the emotions, but we want to be kind about it to ourselves. And my visual for you about self-compassion is you are a person. And I dare say you are the most important person in your own life, because If you didn't have you, you have nothing. So talk to yourself like you'd talk to your best friend. And boy, do we not do that a lot of the time. Imagine the stuff going on in your head, and imagine you picking up the phone or going out to dinner with your best friend and saying those things out loud to them. Wow. Wow. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm betting that you're not the type that would just tear down your best friend with all the critical stuff that you may have been saying to yourself in your head. So self-compassion is speaking to yourself like you would to your best friend. I know you've been going through something. I'm here for you. I know you can do it. You look great today. I don't know. All the different things you might say to someone in your life, you can say those things to yourself. That's good. It helps. And it often motivates, in fact. Because when you are in a good place in terms of what's going on in your head, you can be more creative. You can come up with ideas. You can smile more. You probably are prone to get out of the house or move more. And all those things are going to lead down the path towards success. Okay, so what should we do? Dr. Shad Helmstetter says, you will become what you think about most. Your success or failure in anything, large or small, will depend on your programming, what you accept from others, and what you say when you talk to yourself. And he has a book with that name as well. I'll put it at cherylpfisher.com/read. Really interesting book about self-talk. So what are we going to do? You're hearing me. You're thinking, yeah, I do it. I speak so badly to myself sometimes. And you're hearing me say, it's not you. It happens to everyone. That's part of self-compassion. What are we going to do? The first thing is to catch that critic. Just being aware when that voice starts going. What'd you wear that for? Why are you wearing these shoes? Oh, you look terrible today. What is going on with your skin? Why are you still in this job? To yourself, catch it. Even just being aware is going to make a difference. And then I want you to ask yourself, would I say this to my friend? And here's another way to think about it. Imagine you are walking down the street and you're pulling, I guess we'll say, a wagon behind you, or you're trying to push a grocery cart. Are you pushing that down the street? We'll pull a wagon. We're going to pull a wagon down the street. And here's what's happening. As you're walking down the street, you're looking at the trees, you're thinking about your day, you're thinking about your week, you're thinking about your outfit, you're thinking about where you're going. Every time you say to yourself, ugh, I look dumpy today, you're basically throwing a rock into that wagon. And then you say to yourself, ugh, I can't believe I said that thing in the meeting today. Rock in the wagon. Oh, I can't believe Joe said that thing to me. Why didn't I react? I never think of anything to say at the right time. Rock in the wagon. There's so many things. What happens when you pile rock after rock after rock in the wagon? It gets harder and harder to pull it. You're dragging it. You're leaned over. You're shuffling now. You can barely get down the street. And maybe that is the best visual to show you if you're trying to move forward in life and yet you keep throwing these rocks in your wagon, moving forward becomes a huge, huge challenge. Whereas if we could take those out, and maybe it takes time to be aware that they're there and to switch them, but if we could take them out, wow, we can move forward faster and more comfortably and standing up straight and walking ahead. So how are we going to get the rocks out? Now that we're aware of them, let's kind of reframe. Every time you reframe those thoughts, you get to take a rock out. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, you blew it again. I can't believe you did that in the meeting today. Maybe you can say, that was hard and I'm learning. or you're really like, oh, I can't believe I'm gaining weight, or I don't like how I look. I can't believe I've let this happen. You can say, ooh, sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror, but every day is getting better. Whatever you put after that but negates the first part. See if there's a way you can shift what's going on in your head. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that this is something you can just flip a switch and say, reframe, no problem, reframe. Again, your brain is trying to keep you safe, and we may have very ingrained habits of thinking here that we're dealing with. So it takes time, and you have to be kind to yourself as you're learning to make this shift. It took me a while, and I still fall into this trap regularly. You want to be aware when you're throwing those rocks in the wagon. You want to see if there's a way you can shift the words, reframe the message, get that rock back out of the wagon, keep moving forward. And so, what you typically need as you're taking time to adjust to something is a practice that you can kind of regularly do. Because when you're in a mood, me saying reframe, you're going to go, whatever. So, my two favorites are affirmations. And you heard me say something with a but in the middle is one of my favorites. If we say things over and over to ourselves and write them, and we add a positive emotion, we feel really good about them, they will start to become part of us. And then my other favorite is tapping, which is using acupressure points to allow emotions to flow through our bodies and heal and move forward. So powerful. And the idea is repetition, 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 repetition. So this month in Patreon, we are talking about affirmations and tapping. So come hang out with us, because I think you're going to learn exactly what you need. Patreon.com/mindyourmidlife. Just click join for free over the summer. Everything is free. Totally cool. I think you'll love it. Okay, so this is Mind Your Midlife. So you've got that we're talking about mindset. This is one of the key basic principles, honestly, of mindset and self-talk, is speaking to yourself in a kind way. But why does it matter so much in midlife? We have extra pressure on ourselves during this period of life. We have extra change. Our careers are changing, and even if they're not changing right now, they will at some point that seems to be approaching. Our bodies are changing, and that could be, good heavens, a million things. We have parents whose age and potentially living situation is changing. We have kids who are growing up and living situation is changing. We might be thinking about reinventing ourselves. That's a lot. That's a lot of change at a time. It's a lot of people involved, and we don't get to control other people, right? So there's a lot of pressure to that. And if you can be kind to yourself and stop throwing rocks in your wagon, it will give you energy to move through that. It will give you the ability to think more creatively when you're solving problems. And if you are being just cruel constantly to yourself, it's more rocks in the wagon, and it's draining your energy. Being gentle and kind to yourself is discipline. Discipline is not about berating yourself and just making yourself feel bad. It's being gentle and being kind, even when your brain strays away from that sometimes, and pulling it back, because that's what keeps us going. Your OMG moment today that I want you to really, really remember is criticism doesn't make us better. It shuts us down. When you are self-criticizing all the time in your mind, it doesn't even matter whether these words are said out loud, even just in your mind. If you're criticizing yourself, it will shut you down. It doesn't make you better. Being kind to ourselves, finding things to appreciate about ourselves, giving ourselves room to grow and learn from our mistakes is what keeps us going. So what would you shift about the way you talk to yourself if you're actually talking to your best friend? Okay, if this episode resonated with you, I want you to take my inner voice quiz. You want to find out what inner voice is talking to you. Is it the coach? Is it the cheerleader? Is it the critic? Who is it? And I'll give you a tip for how to grow through that as well. So go to CherylPFisher.com/inner voice quiz. You'll see that link in the show notes. And of course, come hang with us in Patreon. As I said, that link is in the show notes as well. If you're listening on Apple, make sure you tap the 5 stars if you wouldn't mind, and take just a minute and leave a quick review. You would be shocked at how much it helps to get this podcast out to more people. And I'm so grateful to you for doing that. And of course, make sure you hit the follow button, because next week I have a guest joining me. We're going to talk about transformation during this period of life and the limiting beliefs that make it difficult sometimes. And in the meantime, remember, midlife is our time to slow down, to notice what's going on around us, what's going on inside our heads, and create something amazing.